Oh my gosh. Again? So, I don't understand. I have properties. LibreWolf, YouTube. There we go. Hello, hello, welcome. Hi everyone. Doing good today. I don't understand OBS. It's YouTube? Search for YouTube. Not motherfucking, not one of my motherfucking streams I have out on my second monitor. Fucking hell. I don't understand. Anyway. Oh, welcome. Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing good and happy Halloween. And you see I'm in a cat girl maid outfit. Yeah. might as well fully get into it since it's Halloween. Anywho, welcome. I got some videos today. Well, not much. I do really play now because as soon as I got home, I started doing my laundry. As soon as I got home, I was very exhausted from work, even though work was slow. It was just the ending shift things that need to be done that it just took my energy. Anyway, but yeah, I guess it's gonna be a late night stream, and back to Halloween. Oh yeah, I forgot I was watching this. Every time I'm watching a huge mistake. I think I'm done watching it. I was chills. We're gonna do this properly and watch some chills videos. Some chills videos. Okay, this one. That one. Another one that I saw. Oh, shadow figures. Um. Scary exploration counters. Alright, there we go. We gotta do this properly. Also, I hope you like my cat girl maid outfit. I worked a bunch on this, and also I figured out I learned a lot too while working on this one.
Number 15.
Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you want in your burger is someone's foot fungus. That might be what you get. Anyhow, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have my dinner. I have my dinner with me.
Remember that guy who was caught on a Ring doorbell video licking someone's doorbell? Well, we've just found his soulmate. Posted in December of 2017, the footage shows a young blonde woman approach the doorbell. At first, it appears as if it was provoked by a dare. The woman walks up to the doorbell, holds up her hands strangely, as though she knows she's on candid camera, and then looks over to her right, as if looking at someone out of frame. But then she walks back, just standing awkwardly, looking around at random, before approaching the door again. Is she waiting for someone to answer? Maybe, but what she does while waiting is not normal. The woman opens her mouth wide, moving closer to the camera, and you can actually hear her bite. She then backs away again, as though nothing happened, appears to be waiting for a moment, then starts to do this. Well, it's all well and good to get your daily exercise in. Doing that on someone's doorstep late at night after biting their security camera seems a little out of it, don't you agree? Number 14. This unsolved CCTV video
It's just weird.
shows a man struggling to drag something heavy down the steps late at night. As he makes a turn, you can see he's pulling a black bag that's quite large out of view. While this is happening, somebody who is staying late at the office happens to see him, which is how I guess this videotape was reported and later archived for further investigation. Nothing else happens until 42 minutes later when the incident repeats itself. The creepy man drags another mysterious black bag down the steps and out the door. At 10 seconds, you get a better look and it definitely looks like a garbage bag to me. I really hope that this person wasn't dragging two people out, but that's exactly what it looks like happens. Maybe there's a good alternate explanation, but I have no idea why this guest would wait until the middle of the night to remove these objects from his room and never return. Number 13. This is not your average hanger-on. While hanging in this creepy forest, note in the first video, this is a 5-man crew. And yet, in the second video, a 6th person is lurking in the background, and he's acting very creepy. What is that dude doing back there? Is he part of the group, or do they even realize that he's there? Even if he is a member of the crew, I'd say they should keep an eye on him. His behavior seems a little bizarre to say the least. Number 12. 𝙂𝙚𝙧𝙀𝙀 is at home with his wife and daughter. When he looks out his door and sees a total stranger in rough shape, the man is having a fast-paced conversation with no one but himself, and he can't hold still for a single second.
He's just out there, man. He just won't go away.
When he finally notices Jay a full minute later, his first move is to immediately try the door. I can only imagine what this intruder would have done next had he gotten inside. Instead, he throws his hands up in exasperation, as if they have no right to keep their front door locked. He barks a series of threats and demands to be let in. I think he basically says he's through playing games with them, whatever that means. They snicker at him through the door until he gives up and gets into a relatively upscale truck to leave. Obviously, if he has a truck, then he also has a warm place to stay, which makes me wonder why he wanted to get into 𝙂𝙚𝙧𝙀's home to begin with. I think that maybe this person might have been out of their mind.
Okay, so do you like the white glow around it, or do you want to revert to back to red? Let me know, chat.
And thought they were outside of their own home. If so, I really hope they don't come back when 𝙂𝙚𝙧𝙀 is asleep at night and try the same again. Number 11. Everything Paranormal Show gets in on the scary Randonautica video craze and goes randonauting with paranormal creepy stuff in mind.
Now, just to let you know, my intent was paranormal creepy.
The TikTok app takes him to
I've heard of that app. In fact, I have that app installed on my phone. Of course, I don't really plan on doing anything unless if it's with several friends. No, not even just one. A minimum of 3 or 4.
to a random address, and he waits for some creepy stuff to begin, which it most certainly does.
We've got, like I said, this dude's checking me out. I wanted something creepy. Yeah, this dude's just standing here, freaking staring at me.
Before he knows it, somebody is standing near his car. They're not moving, just staring him down. To be fair, What to him is a creepy man could just be someone wandering who is in their parking space, but even when he leaves, the man is standing completely still, simultaneously staring at nothing in particular and everything all at once. Number 10. This
I feel like that's a big sign that he is not all mentally there. If that.
stranger in a hockey jersey demands entry. Would you let him in?
Let me in.
Published by Sam
I don't
Maloney
trust
in
that.
May of 2022, this Ring doorbell camera captured this man's attempted entry on video. After being dropped off by a white car that drives away, the man walks up the stairs and rings the doorbell a couple of times. He speaks in a strange, froggy voice. He continues to growl at the door.
Let me in. Let me in.
Dude. If I ever have that kind of encounter, that is creepy as shit. That is creepy as shit. If I ever have that happen to me, I am calling the cops. I don't care. I don't care. If I hear something like, let me in, let me in. No, I'm calling the cops like, hey, there's this dude. He's wearing a white hoodie, 6 foot, I think around 5'11" male. Just come.
Alexa then asks him what his intentions are, and he responds,
Welcome.
Let me in.
This is Alexa. What is the purpose of the visit?
I require entry.
After demanding entry, the man disappears from the camera's sight, but it's not clear where he went. He didn't retreat down the front stairs. Did he find a way in through the door or a window? You and me are left with more questions than answers.
Or
Number
the video just
9.
cut early.
A YouTuber named The Modern Mombi is sipping her coffee while pumping gas while she notices someone watching her get into her car. She lets it slide until she sees him looking at her again.
But yeah, he keeps beeping us.
She is making a video probably in the hopes that it will make him too ashamed to continue, but he looks straight at her and seems to smirk. It's a weird and creepy expression that he has no excuse to keep making if they are straight.
That's a goddamn serial killer in the making. That guy is fucking creepy. Nah. Nah. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. That's not good. That's not good. At all.
Strangers. Maybe he thinks he recognizes her, but if that were the case, staring at her instead of saying hello is rude and suspicious to say the least. Then again, maybe the camera is the only thing keeping him from being more intrusive. He eventually gets in the car and drives away. That's when she realizes she's in her work uniform and hopes he won't be staring at her sometime soon at her job. Number 8. Have you ever had a night stalker? Andrew J. Neese has.
I have it. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. You know what? You know what everyone should do? If they have to be in their work uniform, try to pump gas, and they have this shit happen to them, report it to your manager, report it to HR, report it to goddamn corporate, and say, hey, I had this encounter with this person at this gas station at this time. They were wearing this clothing. They were around from 70 to 80 years old. Creepy stare. Pretty much everything that happened in the video. Luckily I never had that happen to me yet. Hopefully never. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself. Anywho. That is creepy as fuck. That is creepy as fuck. I, 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 I don't understand people. I don't. What the fuck is wrong with them? What the fuck? I don't understand. What is the purpose of that? If at all. Seriously, why? Why? Please, someone tell me why.
As he published this chilling video in May of 2011. The footage is of a man dressed in a black hoodie standing outside his bedroom window. The uploader appears to be located on an upper floor, and the stranger is standing below it in plain view staring up at the window. In the video description, Andrew explains, "In the spots where the audio cuts out, I did that myself because I was telling the 911 lady my name, address, and phone number, and didn't want the personal info online, especially not with this weird guy outside." He tells the 911 operator that the man has been standing there in the alley for about 30 minutes, basically right in the middle of the road, just staring at him.
Hi, yeah, there's this guy just like standing outside my window, and he's just like looking up at the window. He's been there for about 30 minutes now.
As many in the comments section have noted, the scene is terrifying. Some suggest to open the window and ask him what he's doing. I'm not.
That's literally one-way ticket to getting yourself killed. What the? Dumbasses. Dumbass move. That's a dumbass move. Whoever. Whoever commented that, Darwin Award. Darwin Award.
Sure if that's a good idea. It is unknown what happened after this recording stopped. Number 7. Most bad guys.
I would have kept on recording until either a cop arrived or the man left. I wouldn't have stopped recording at all.
I see a security camera and think twice, but Jason Chekhov thinks that this one was attracted to his house specifically because of it, which he can get some money for if he can manage to get away. There's no doubt that he stops and looks directly at the camera at 9 seconds into the video. It's such an abrupt and dramatic turn that some people think the whole thing is fake, and that this person whose face is falling, and then they just try to open it the good old-fashioned way and give the glass 3 solid elbows.
What the fuck?
Finally, they try to simply pinch and lift, painfully snapping back their fingernail from the sound of it. Messing up his windows or his fingers trying to break his way in. A YouTuber named 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚𝙧 is making a vlog about life in general. When
Yeah. That's scary as fuck.
she decides to take a rest in the park on a nice Sunday. Big mistake.
I have some guy staring at me in front of me. He's been like holding the tree.
Notice how he lines himself perfectly out of her sight. He could come from behind and she wouldn't be able to see it coming.
You guys are about to see him.
Her will facing her royal. Number
That's
5.
scary.
Doorbell camera captured an interesting visitor one night at around 10 p.m. TikToker 𝙂𝙚𝙤𝙚 shares this video.
What the fuck?
It appears that the woman just stands there for a moment, breathing loudly, and then leaves, carrying her bag of mysteries. It doesn't even seem like she rings the doorbell.
That's fucking scary. What the fuck? Excuse me? No.
Would this terrify you? It does certainly terrify me. I wouldn't open the door ever again. Number 4. Most of the time, security
Hold on, chat. I wonder, what if I speed 1.5?
cameras capture hours and hours
Well, 1.25.
of useless footage. Sometimes, however, they capture something like this.
Okay, this sounds odd. Of 115.
Published in September of 2013, YouTuber 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚
So with a 1.15 speed, it sounds like he's talking normally.
writes, a woman walks out of the darkness on a cold and wet night in the mountains far from a busy road and no immediate neighbors. The security camera is aimed into the wilderness and you can see a tree to the right side of the screen but nothing else. That is until, right in the middle of the shot, the figure appears, walks and stops and turns awkwardly, not turning with her feet but just twisting with her upper body. Then she walks forward again before taking a sharp right turn and veering out of sight. The video moves forward about 45 seconds until the woman is seen winding around the tree and then is spotted back in the middle again, looking off into the wilderness, moving in the same strange start-stop fashion that she was doing before. A different security camera captures the woman walking up towards the house. Out of sight, it's not clear what she did alongside of the home, but she is soon seen again walking haphazardly away and around the same area near the tree in the back. She did this for 10 minutes, the video notes. Many in the comments think this woman must have been on something, but in the middle of nowhere. What do you think? I'm just glad they had security cameras so the homeowners were aware of her activities.
Exactly.
Number 3. Real Victoria is woken up by her cat hissing at something it sees in the bedroom window. The cat goes quiet when she starts recording, but it's definitely focused on some activity outside. She says this creepy looking character was looking in through her window, and he very well may have been, but at 4 seconds he also seems to be looking up and trying to get the attention of someone in the room above him. In fact, I think I hear him shout something and whistle loudly at the beginning of this video. What is he saying here? Eventually, he steps away and out of sight. I guess he either saw the camera, or he finally got the attention of someone in the unit above. Whatever he was up to,
The
having a
fuck?
complete stranger anywhere near where you live at 5 in the morning is oddly terrifying. With that said, I do believe her, and I hope Real Victoria stays safe until her lease is up and she can get out of there. Number 2. Ever felt like you were being watched? These 3 boys definitely had reason to. Posted by the Comics Man to the Chills Narrator subreddit, the uploader writes, some dudes go to the Danakil Desert or a park. What is in the first frame? The video shows 3 kids getting ready to do some parkour, everyday kid stuff, but not far beyond in the background. Look at what is watching them from a nearby tree. The figure appears like a silhouette and gives off serious Slenderman vibes. The ominous way it's lurking there makes the otherwise innocent parkour video intensely creepy.
What the
You can
fuck?
vaguely see the figure again at
Holy
a
shit.
distance. At 1 minute and 43 seconds, it continues to stand there in the clump of trees, and again around 3 minutes in. What is this thing? Do these boys have a lurker? Nowhere is safe. I've got a challenge for you. Since you've made it this far, why not
Challenger to these nuts.
button to Chris Javier is making a random vlog around his neighborhood late at night when he gets the
But do
weird feeling
subscribe.
that he's not alone. Moments later, the streetlight he's standing by goes off and on by itself, which he says it has never done before. He thinks it might just be his imagination, so he decides to further test the situation by directly communicating with whatever is controlling the light, which seems to respond more than once. Here's the first time.
What the heck is going on?
And then the streetlight seems to taunt him even as he walks away. Was this a coincidence, or is there no possible way?
Now it's not even turning off. As soon as I just said something about it, it turns off.
A short while later, Chris sees a disheveled figure walk out from the back alley where he was just standing. They seem totally out of it and speak aggressively to an imaginary person in front of them. At this point, Chris decides to get out of there because it's early in the morning and no one else is around. But to his surprise, the stranger soon follows. The person then abruptly returns to the back alley from where they came and begins to shudder under the same streetlight that was acting weird earlier. They seem drawn to this area and they start swinging their arms wildly in a circle, totally forgetting about Chris as he films the scene for a while
What the
longer and then gets
fuck?
away, between the lights seemingly responding to Chris's voice and a man randomly appearing from an empty back alley moments later. There just seems to be too many coincidences in this video to
Okay,
deny
that's
the paranormal
scary.
could have been at work that night.
That's scary. Restored after the 15. That's fucking scary. I just...
Number 15. A YouTube channel called 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 is simply a collection of videos from a person's drive to and from work. One upload has thousands more views than any other because of how creepy it is, and also because it's difficult to come up with a satisfying way to explain it. So 𝙂𝙚 is driving to work when
What
someone
the
forces
fuck?
him to the other lane. As he's getting closer, he discovers it's an older woman standing in his lane. She remains suspended in this position and does not so much as turn her head to acknowledge him. In fact, we never see her face at all. Does she even have one? Light snow covers the cars, but does not
Okay, does she even have one? Okay, that's clever clickbait stuff. Thank you for that, Chills.
cover her, so she could have not been standing here for long. Still, it is very cold out, and yet not once do I see any indication of her breath. Is she alive? A ghost? 𝙂𝙚 slows
Okay, that's more clickbait stuff. Thank you, Chills.
down, and I want to say he helps her, but the video ends before we get a chance to really see. This was made in 2017, and no update has been provided, so I guess what happened next will have to stay a mystery. Number 14. This dashcam video originates from somewhere in Russia. A large truck swerves out of the way of something invisible, narrowly missing oncoming traffic in the process. Then a pedestrian suddenly appears from behind the truck and calmly walks away like nothing happened. The uploader of this video is sure that this is a ghost, and assuming this video is not CGI, I would have to agree. Slow the video down and you can clearly see how nothing is in the truck's path at first, and then the person instantly appears only after the truck has passed. It's almost as if the truck has passed straight through them. Number
What the
13.
fuck?
This one is The Thing Nightmares Are Made Of. Published in October of 2014. The footage begins with a vehicle driving down a dark road
Okay.
at night. After a bit of driving, he comes across a vehicle with its emergency brakes on in the middle of the road.
What the
driver
fuck?
goes around this vehicle, but not much further. He has to slow down again, as there's a man with a baby stroller wandering down the road.
What the
He comes
fuck?
closer and closer. For some reason, the driver starts laughing. He puts the car into reverse. I'm not sure if laughing would be my first reaction, or any reaction for that matter, but he keeps backing up slowly, as the man with his baby stroller continues to pursue. Then he starts running at them. He's closing in, but the driver starts reversing faster. Finally, he loses the creep, as everyone in the comments section of this video is asking, why? Why is this man pushing a baby stroller? Why down the middle of the road? Why late at night?
What the
Some in the
fuck?
comments were also a bit concerned. Savannah Rose wrote, what if he had a kid in there? Well, John Garza posted a theory. They are trying to rob you. Seen this in Corpus Christi, Texas. Whether this baby stroller man was trying to rob anyone or not, one thing's for certain, he should get another tactic. Number 12.
Dude. Dude. Nah. No. Oh, no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I would have tried to swerve around him while trying to get home. If he wants to get run over, he's gonna get run over. I just want to go home. But all seriousness, yeah, you might as well just try to back up. That is not good. That is not good whatsoever. Nope. Nuh-uh. That is fucked in half. Holy shit. What the fuck?
An Uber driver is taking home 2 passengers when a car they have never seen before overtakes them on the left and then puts on the brakes. Before anyone has the chance to make sense of the situation, the other driver is already hurrying over. He taps on the window and orders the Uber driver to get out of his car, which makes the passengers panic.
I don't know. What's that?
You blew the right leg. Get the out of the corner.
Just go, go around.
Thinking fast, the Uber driver takes the right course of action by not getting out of his vehicle, driving away instead. They manage to escape and are ready to forget about the whole incident when they see his high beams on them again. That's when they make the second smart decision and get the police on the phone. Number 5. This week this after driver beams to dispatching a description of the vehicle.
That's good.
So that actually worked.
Okay, so see, now that's another. Did he try to open the door?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
The car that was chasing them is still nearby, and the driver is charged with being under the influence. Kudos to the driver for keeping his passengers safe.
Kudos
not
to him.
responding with aggression himself. Had he gotten out of the car and into an altercation, he could have been charged with something or made the situation worse. Number 11.
Jesus Christ.
This dashcam video was supposedly taken near Hanoi, Vietnam, and was posted on Facebook where it spread to the local news. In it, the car soon pulls up to a figure dressed in all white
That is
standing
not
in
good.
the middle of the road.
Not
the
good.
drivers are quite concerned that this individual is standing in the middle of a pitch black road, alone besides one street light above. They don't ask the person anything. Instead, they quickly drive away. While many online thought it was a ghost of some kind, news agencies have said that this was a woman who is not mentally well and was possibly attempting to take her own life. Let's hope she got the help she needed before it was too late.
Jesus
Number 10.
Christ.
This Russian dashcam video starts
Feel
with a
bad for
car
her.
full of friends gawking at a figure dressed in all black, who looks very out of place standing all alone in the quiet city streets so late at night. Something feels off about this stranger, so they decide to double back and take a second look out of curiosity.
Why would you You're a fucking dumbass and you deserve a Darwin Award for that. I would have kept going. I said, fuck that shit, I'm not messing with that. Keep going.
This time they get a much better view at the shadowy apparition and they all yell in surprise. But I can't make out a single discerning feature of this person's face, which makes me wonder if they even have one to begin with. It's almost
Thank you for more clickbait stuff. This is why now I understand why I stopped watching Chills. The reason why I subscribed to Chills in the first place is because they actually had good videos. They actually made good videos, but I understand the clickbait stuff. At the same time, come on, show some respect. I want to see what this
Good
is.
evening, everyone. Sometimes, video games manage to Nah, just kidding. It's the unused slot that Nintendo left in for Bone Mario. It's actually very convenient that they left this in for us, as it made it a lot easier to restore. In order to trigger this unused horror mode, we can temporarily redirect the Cloudflower. However, this makes the game crash, as there is no model associated with horror mode. The internal Mario All model table, which holds what power-up models to use, does have a slot reserved for horror, but the game never tries to fill that slot, and therefore causes the crash. The code to load one got removed before release, but we can add some to make it load a placeholder model, like the skeleton Mario that shows up when you get electrocuted. Doing this actually makes sense based on some unused animations that Aurum found. These animations fit the skeleton model almost perfectly. Here is Bone Break Start, Bone Break Wait, and Bone Break End. For now, this is all we have regarding the Bone Mario model. What we got next is just as important, however.
Ooh.
Inside the game code, there are utility functions for checking what the active comet is. Not every comet has one, but all they are doing is checking the name of the active comet type. Except for these two, which are said to just always return 0, or false. Rainbow clearly refers to the Rainbow Star power-up, while Horror is, as we know now, a reference to Bone Mario. This pretty much explains what Nintendo had wanted to use Bone Mario for, but we'll fully go over that a little later.
Bone Mario?
For now, we'll stick to the leftovers.
Okay.
In Aurum's video, he explains how he uncovered pieces of unused code related to taking damage. He found that, when in the horror state, Mario wouldn't take damage upon impact, but rather fall apart. This also made the game use the unused bone break animations. It would then take Mario 3 seconds to get back up, unless you mashed the A button. Aurum also found that if you enter a so-called glaring light area in horror mode, it will temporarily restore Mario's visuals to his normal model. I would eventually discover last year that doing this on a comet star with a time limit, it causes the timer to pause when you enter the area. Additionally, leaving the area will add 60 seconds to the timer. Though a problem immediately presented itself, you can enter and exit the area repeatedly and gain infinite time, which is very overpowered and looks like the developers didn't fully implement this beyond the testing phase.
Ooh.
Speaking of testing though, here's a partially related fun fact. If you were to set up a timed horror comet and obtain the Boo power-up, the timer will be completely frozen. We have no idea why that's a thing. Alright, let's move our attention to the leftover message file.
Okay, so theory. And maybe these time comments with the intended powers are supposed to work with the intended power-ups. However, if there's a power that's not intended to be in the actual level, it may mess with the level itself and pretty much mess with multiple aspects of it to the point that it could well be the timer freezing is actually a side effect of having an unintended power-up, a power-up that's not intended to be in the particular level to be in the level and be used. That's my working theory. But it may not just be a theory. It could be a game theory. Thanks for watching.
Files now. Aurum already uncovered 2 of these, called 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙀 Horror Zone and Kinoko Tower Horror Zone. And last year I was able to find a 3rd related file, being 𝙂𝙚𝙣 Zone. Let's look at them in detail. 𝙂𝙚𝙣 Horror Zone refers to a zone that was unfortunately scrapped from the game, and only its name implies that it had anything to do with Bone Mario. And for those of you who don't know or don't remember what zones are, I have a video that explains them, so you can watch that as a refresher if you need to. The 𝙂𝙚𝙣 Horror Zone message file contains dialogue for Illuma in Japanese, which, when translated, says the following. If you enter the light, you can return to your original form. Your remaining lives will also be restored. The file name for Kinoko Tower Horror Zone also implies it belongs to a Bone Mario zone, but unfortunately the level data for it was also scrapped. It contains dialogue for 2 NPCs though, one being a signboard and the other being Illuma. When translated, the dialogue for the signboard reads, "Due to the Bone's curse, your life is running out. If you collect coins, you can live a bit longer." And the dialogue for the Luma reads, "If you enter the light, you will return to your original form. Your remaining lives will also be restored." This text is identical to the Luma dialogue from 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙀 Horror Zone. Now for the 3rd message file, being 𝙂𝙚𝙣 Zone. It doesn't contain our magic keyword horror in its name, but it is clearly related to 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 Horror Zone based on the 𝙂𝙚𝙣 part. Yet again, there is no level data associated with this, but interestingly, it holds dialogue for an unused 𝙬𝙤𝙬𝙬 NPC. The text reads, "Traveler of the stars, allow me to lend you my power." Lastly, let's look at some miscellaneous leftovers, of which we were able to find 3. The first is an unused sound effect, called MSGK64 Wind Horror. The 64 might be linked to Big Boo's haunt from Super Mario 64, while the appended horror sounds like it belongs to Bone Mario. Here's what this sounds like.
Boo's mansion in the form of a galaxy? Oh yeah, now I remember. Yep, that was that one. A horror zone of that?
And the last 2 are 2 particle effects, being Horror Start and Horror End. Thanks to NoClip.website, we can see what they look like. And that is everything left over from Nintendo and Galaxy 2 relating to Bone Mario. Based on these, we can make some assumptions for how Bone Mario was supposed to work. We can also take some guesses. These message files give us a clear name for the unused Bone Mario power. Bone's Curse. We will stick to that from now on, it sounds pretty dope. But the more important aspect is the unused Horror Comet type. Knowing this existed actually explains what Nintendo had in mind. They didn't want Bone's Curse to be a power-up that you could simply obtain via an item. They wanted this state exclusively for horror-type comets. And thankfully, the unused code functions and message files tell us how these comets were probably planned to work. Starting with the code functions, the ability for glaring light area to temporarily restore Mario's visuals and pause the comet timer suggests that Nintendo may have planned to have some sort of light source that would suspend the Bone's Curse, and thus the comet timer. We have no clue how the Boo Mushroom factors into any of this, as it seemingly doesn't have any relations outside of being vaguely spooky, so we're going to assume they just did that for testing or something. The unused signboard says your life would slowly be draining, and only coins could restore fractions of it, keeping you from a skeletal demise. If we consider the sign text and the fact that leaving glaring light area gives you an additional 60 seconds, assuming that wasn't just added for debugging, it sounds like this was going to be the original plan for the final game's time attack comets. Those are the ones where you start with a very low timer and would have to collect plus clocks to slightly increase your timer. There is one thing that goes unanswered, however. The glaring light area temporarily restores Mario's visuals, but why? Does this imply Mario was meant to control differently when he was in this cursed form? We unfortunately don't know, as there is no leftover code hinting towards anything specific. The more intriguing aspect, however, has yet to be addressed. So, what's up with not taking damage and falling apart for a few seconds? I think this is a nice way of putting pressure on you. The level timer itself is very low, and taking damage would render you immovable. Watching the timer tick down while you're stuck on the ground sounds pretty panic-inducing. Very fitting considering the horror name. But now there's something a bit odd. The unused signboard and Luma dialogue says you can restore your health in light, or by collecting coins. Does that mean that while you were low on time, you would also slowly be losing health? But how do you lose health if you can't take damage at all? Perhaps the health in this case doesn't refer to your 3 health meter, but something else? Unfortunately, we don't get many answers to these oddities. And finally, we got the zone names. I think these all probably relate to being zones in a galaxy together. 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 Zone and 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 Horror Zone could stand for a planet with a lot of mud, which maybe Bone's Curse could potentially have interacted with. The end of the level could be Kinoko Tower Horror Zone, and seeing as Kinoko is Japanese for mushroom, could this have been a tower shaped like a mushroom that you'd have to climb? These implications give us a glimpse of what Nintendo had in mind when initially programming the Bone's Curse. However, in order to fully restore it, we need a little more. And that brings us to the final part of this video, the actual restoration efforts. This is the fun part, finally restoring Bone's curse and making it playable. But how could we make an enjoyable gameplay experience while not making it a burden to play? From the leftovers we looked at, Bone's curse sounds like something that only puts constraints on you and doesn't provide anything fun. To figure this out, let's look at power-ups in general. All power-ups in Mario games give and take. For example, the bee power-up gives you the ability to fly and climb honeycombs, but it takes away some of your agility, most notable of which is the long jump. Also consider the rock power-up. It gives you the ability to roll into enemies and blast them away, but it takes away your ability to spin, which you would usually use in midair to gain height. Also, it only lasts until the next launch star. You surely recognize by now that all power-ups have some sort of balancing to them.
Yeah.
Except the Cloud Flower. So, how can we apply this balancing principle to Bone's Curse? Well, Bone's Curse takes something very valuable from you. Time. It puts you in a constant state of panic, but on the other hand, it gives you immunity to damage. But not really. It comes at a cost of more time loss. If this is balanced or not is a bit of a gray area, so we decided to give Bone Mario some actual abilities. First, we added the ability to throw bone projectiles, similar to Fire Mario. However, we didn't actually need to take the spin ability away for this. Instead, spinning will still work, but only with the Wii Remote, while throwing bones will only work via the nunchuck. Yup, we made each controller shake do something different. This is completely unheard of for Mario Galaxy, so it might take a bit to get used to,
Oh,
but
that's
we believe
cool.
that this was the best and coolest option.
Okay, that's cool.
Our next idea actually came from the unused message file names. 𝙂𝙚 Planet Horror Zone. What if...
I think it's because you invented that, Nintendo's gonna copy it, patent it, and then sue you for copyright infringement. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo did that.
Bone Mario had an advantage
Oh,
on
fuck.
mud? No, on all sorts of terrain. So as an additional ability, we gave Bone Mario immunity to various harmful floor types. I'll elaborate on that in a moment. Now that we have some sort of balancing regarding this power-up, how do we make it available? Should we only keep it limited to a timed horror comet type? After thinking for a while, we agreed to also make it available via a unique item, the Bone Shroom. Shoutouts to 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 for this sick 3D model.
Oh, that's cool.
To make it even more eerie, I programmed the Bone Shroom to always rotate to look at you. Scary. The next idea we had, again, came from the unused messages, which implied that Bone Mario is on some sort of health restriction. We decided to give Bone Mario a new meter called the Curse Meter, which would run out after 60 seconds. Yeah, the inspiration came from the underwater air meter and the bee fly meter. You can refill the Curse Meter when in light or by collecting starbits. Collecting starbits is contrary to the coins suggested in the message, but we decided to go with starbits because coins were already used for normal health and we wanted something more unique. Returning to the floor hazard immunity now, we made a few specific changes that will cause these hazardous floors to drain your curse faster than normal. The classic brown mud is unchanged, but any mud variant and quicksand that would normally kill you, you can now walk on. Or rather, walk through. You get slowed down a bit, but you don't die. There's also lava, which you can now bounce on at the cost of having an entire chunk of your curse meter being removed at once. Regarding the light, I found that the game has two different light areas. Glaring light area, which you already heard about earlier in the video, and sunlight area. I made it so that both areas will restore Mario's visuals and freeze the curse meter, as well as the timer when you're on a comet, but to differentiate them, sunlight area also refills your curse meter. The idea is simple. Mechanical lights, such as light from a light bulb, are weaker than natural light, such as fire or the sun, and therefore only natural light has enough power to refill the meter. Or light from this custom Luma color we made. These are supposed to represent the scrapped Starlight Luma NPC, but in reality they are just a normal Luma with a special color and a sunlight area placed around them. I mean, that's how Captain Toad's headlamp in Deep Dark Galaxy can kill boos, so using this trick is completely valid according to Nintendo.
Sealed
Lastly,
jank.
we also created a new type of Switch, exclusive for Bones Curse, being the Horror Switch. Again, thanks to Humming Owl for that 3D model, you are the GOAT. This switch can only be turned on or off when you hit the crystal with a bone. This requires a bit of aiming skill, though. Additionally, modders can set this switch to either rotate towards or away from you. How are you supposed to hit the switch when it's facing away from you? Well, that's easy. The bone projectiles can reflect off of walls that have a specific collision code on them. They can rebound up to 2 times. I'm sure modders can make great use of that. Okay, after all of that, we come to the true highlight of this
that's
video.
actually interesting.
We didn't just restore Bones Curse and add some neat gameplay aspects on top of it. We also tried to make a full level, solely based on the unused stage file names. You want to see what it looks like? Here, take a sneak peek.
Ooh.
That entire planet was modeled by Super Mario Galaxy 64 creator mt_lens, while the interior areas were created by Super Mario Galaxy 63 creator alex_smg. Huge thanks to both of you for your absolutely incredible work. If you can't wait to explore this world, don't! It's available now for download. It features 6 power stars and some neat surprises. I hope you enjoy it. The source code for Bones Curse is also available on my GitHub, so other modders can make use of it in their hacks.
Okay, that's
all
cool.
for today's video. See you next time.
Thank you for inspiring Nintendo to patent it even more and sue you. At least the work is actually really good. Oh. Oh yeah, that's cool. Okay, not watching 5 hours of that. Fortitude. Oh no. Easier right now. See here. Ooh, there's Rossman. Okay. Okay. Whew. All right. I think I've heard, yeah, I've heard of this one before. Well, chat, oh yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go check on my laundry real quick. I'm gonna have the video play for a minute, alright? Alright. Alright, Matane. Come on.
This photo shows what was supposed to be Europe's most spectacular new water park, 𝙂𝙚 Waterworld in Gothenburg, Sweden. Just days before its grand opening, the multi-million-dollar project stood complete, pristine, and filled with promise. And this is the same park a few days later, engulfed in flames, shredded by explosions, and blanketed in black smoke visible for kilometers. What happened next would go down as one of the darkest chapters in the history of amusement parks in Sweden, both for the scale of destruction and the tragic loss of life. But first, as always, viewer discretion is advised. In November 2020, in the heart of Gothenburg, a city shaped by maritime history and home to one of Sweden's most beloved amusement parks. A new and ambitious project was about to take shape. Its name was Oceana Waterworld, and from the moment it was announced, it was meant to be far more than just another expansion. The vision that the operating company 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚 had invested into Oceana was bold: to create the most advanced water park in Scandinavia, one that could operate year-round, withstand Sweden's harsh winters, and set a new standard for indoor leisure across the entire Nordic region. Meanwhile, the design was every bit as striking as the ambition behind it. Combining high-tech engineering with sleek architectural aesthetics, Oceana promised sprawling indoor lagoons, modern wellness zones, and a lineup of record-breaking water slides unlike anything else in the country. By the time the final budget was approved, the project had already surpassed $120 million, and the amount of work ahead was still enormous. Construction moved forward steadily over 4 years, with teams from across the world, engineers, designers, and specialized contractors, each contributing expertise in everything from hydraulics to structural design. And overseeing this enormous effort, day after day, was one man, 51-year-old Patrik Gillholm. He had been part of the 𝙂𝙗𝙣𝙗 team long before Oceana was even conceived, and when the expansion was finally approved, he returned as lead construction manager, bridging planning and execution and overseeing every detail from dawn walkthroughs to late-night reviews. Under his careful supervision, Oceana appeared almost complete by February 2024. The pools had already been sealed and filled for pressure testing. Lighting across the themed zones was being installed and configured, and most of the park's internal systems, from water circulation to HVAC and electrical controls, were online and undergoing collaboration. And perhaps most importantly, the majority of the attractions had already passed their safety inspections. So everything was being prepared at a rapid pace for the long-awaited grand opening in April 2024. However, that readiness existed only on the surface, because on February 12th, something truly catastrophic was about to happen. That Monday morning, most crews were still arriving at the Oceana Waterworld construction site, but as usual, Patrik Gillholm was already there, carrying his clipboard and ready to perform one more series of checks before the day's operations began. He checked in with security shortly after 7 a.m., made a quick round past the ground-level work zones, and then headed directly toward the main tower, the heart of the park's largest slide system and the last active piece still undergoing installation. That attraction, called the Rattler, was styled as a massive serpent coiling around the tower structure. From there, the ride would begin on the 4th floor, launch riders through a series of high-speed tunnels suspended outside the building, and then curve back inside for a dramatic final plunge into the main pool. However, the Rattler was also one of the remaining attractions that had been giving teams trouble for weeks, if not months. Although the slide structure itself had already been assembled, one critical component had delayed final installation, a specialized water diversion pipe. Not only had it arrived late, but its placement turned out to be especially challenging. It needed to be welded deep inside a narrow, elevated utility shaft. Therefore, the space was simply difficult to access without specialized equipment, and had little to no ventilation. Normally, this kind of task would fall to certified plumbers trained in electrofusion welding. This method works by heating a metal coil embedded within the pipe fitting until it melts the surrounding polyethylene, forming a seamless, pressure-tight joint. But in this case, the certified team refused to proceed without proper scaffolding or secure footing. They considered the task unsafe. That's when the job was passed to a different crew, a team from Whitewater, the Canadian subcontractor that had manufactured the slide itself. While they were deeply familiar with the structure overall, they weren't certified to perform electrofusion welding on site. Still, with schedules tightening and pressure building to meet deadlines, the decision was made to let them proceed. By the time Patrik reached the 5th floor, the weld was already underway 2 levels below. Once there, he began his routine checks, inspecting cable mounts, reviewing fixture alignments, and walking through mechanical access corridors. Meanwhile, inside the shaft, things weren't going according to plan. Since the pipe ends hadn't been properly aligned, a small but critical gap remained between them. As the embedded coil began to heat, that gap caused the system to overcompensate, overheating the weld zone. And instead of fusing the plastic cleanly, the coil began to scorch it from the inside out, slowly and silently. Yet on the surface, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. right up until 8:30 a.m., when some of the crews on the lower floors began to notice a strange smell. It was faint, something between warm plastic and scorched wiring. Ultimately, most simply assumed it was a fan motor overheating or a minor short in the electrical system, and so they continued working.
That sounds like major issues to address. To stop immediately, shut down all systems, cut all power to everything, and check what the fuck is going on. You don't just fucking continue.
Still, roughly 12 minutes later, at 8:42 a.m., another sign appeared. This time, a thin white trail drifting upward from one of the tower's vertical pipe vents. It resembled steam, and at first glance, it didn't seem unusual. After all, condensation was common on a cold morning, especially at a water park. But what they were seeing wasn't steam. It was the first visible sign that the heat inside the shaft had reached the surrounding materials, and as the temperature crept upward, it began to affect the insulation lining the cavity. The foam inside the wall ignited, and a small flame escaped upward through the vent outlet, catching onto nearby cladding. Within seconds, the smoke changed color, shifting from light vapor to thick, dark gray, and that was when full-blown panic broke out. Workers outside the tower shouted for extinguishers, while others rushed to grab their radios and phones. Meanwhile, inside on the 5th floor, Patrick was still making his way through access zones, and since the voices outside had sharpened, he could sense something was wrong. Suddenly, his phone rang. The person on the line asked if he had seen anything strange. Patrick replied that he could smell burning plastic and was heading down to check. But at that very moment, heat and pressure had been building inside the shaft far faster than anyone realized. The combination of scorched plastic, synthetic insulation, and rising gases had turned the shaft into a pressurized corridor. When that pressure reached its threshold, ignition followed, and in an instant, the shaft erupted. The blast tore through internal panels,
Jesus
blowing out
Christ.
sections of the tower's exterior and launching debris down onto the site below. And just as it happened, the call with Patrick abruptly cut off.
Oof.
In mere seconds, the fire spread. The internal layers of the tower, packed with cladding and insulated cavities, began to fuel the blaze. Meanwhile, the shaft's vertical layout worked like a chimney, pulling in oxygen and pushing heat upward. The fire department, already alerted by earlier calls about smoke, was now seeing the full plume rise over Gothenburg. The column reached high into the sky, visible for kilometers, and even traffic along the nearby highway began to slow as drivers looked up in disbelief. When responders finally reached the building, the fire was fully engaged, and by mid-morning, the entire construction site had been transformed into a sealed-off disaster zone. While police cordoned off the area, emergency vehicles filled the surrounding streets and set up a temporary medical station nearby. In total, 16 workers were treated for smoke inhalation, 2 of whom were transported to the hospital. Yet in the midst of the chaos, one question remained unanswered. What happened to Patrick Gilham? Some believed he might have made it out, but was simply unreachable. Others assumed he had stayed behind to coordinate evacuations or assist emergency crews. But as the hours passed and his phone remained silent, all hope began to fade. By that afternoon, the fire was still smoldering. The building's internal systems, many still incomplete or untested, offered no aid in locating missing personnel. And while Patrick's last known position had been on the 5th floor, the stairwell he'd used was destroyed, and structural engineers now warned that sections of the tower had become unstable. Therefore, entering was simply too dangerous. Meanwhile, Patrick's family stood just beyond the emergency perimeter, and his wife, Teresa, and their children, Tuva and Albin. They waited through the night, hoping for news, yet unfortunately received none, because no one could even confirm whether Patrick was still inside. Still, deep down, many had already begun to understand what the eventual answer would be, one that wouldn't come for another 4 days. On February 16th, once engineers had stabilized key parts of the tower, the search teams were finally permitted inside. Almost immediately, they found Patrick near what remained of the 5th floor, close to an emergency corridor, partially shielded by a wall that had buckled in the blast. Unfortunately, he showed no signs of life, and the official cause of death could only be recorded as carbon monoxide poisoning. Investigators believe Patrick had stayed low and attempted to find an exit route, perhaps even trying to use a radio or phone to relay information. But unfortunately, the toxic gases produced by burning foam and plastic filled the space faster than he could escape. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Sweden's Accident Investigation Authority launched a formal inquiry, and over the following weeks, they traced every decision, every subcontract, and every misstep that had contributed to the disaster. The origin of the fire was traced to that very same incorrectly executed electrofusion weld on the polyethylene pipe, carried out by uncertified workers. On top of that, the joint itself had been misaligned, and that seemingly small detail created an air gap which caused the heating coil to overcompensate, overheat, and gradually ignite the surrounding plastic, triggering a smoldering fire inside the wall cavity. Another critical factor was the lack of an active fire detection system. It turned out that the temporary alarm network that had protected the site earlier in the project had been dismantled just days before. The new permanent system was already installed, but still operating in test mode. It could collect data, but not trigger alarms, and as a result, no warning sound in those early minutes when the fire could have been stopped. It's often assumed that amusement parks pose the greatest danger to thrill-seeking visitors, and statistically, that perception holds some truth. In Florida's Walt Disney World alone, around 65 guest fatalities have been recorded over the years of its operation. But as the case of Patrick Gilholm makes perfectly clear, it's often the employees, even the most experienced ones, who face the highest risks, especially when workplace safety is neglected. And sadly, this case was far from unique. Just 1 year after the Oceana fire, in the summer of 2025, 44-year-old Ronald Andrew 𝙂𝙚 Jr. was working on a water park construction site in Goodyear, Arizona. Assigned to a nearly 2-meter deep trench, he was buried alive when the walls suddenly collapsed. His body was recovered after 12 hours, and investigators later confirmed the trench lacked the proper reinforcements that could have prevented the collapse, a basic safety measure that was never implemented. A few years earlier, in 2022, a 30-year-old employee
Jesus
at a
Christ.
Western-themed amusement park in the
That's why I don't like corporals sometimes. They do anything to cut costs.
United States was killed in an equally shocking incident. While riding a scooter across the park grounds, he struck a gate that had been secured with a nylon strap instead of a proper latch. Ultimately, the makeshift fix failed. The gate swung out, and the resulting crash led to fatal injuries. And in 2012, at La Ronde Amusement Park in Montreal, a seasoned maintenance technician was performing a routine inspection near the Vampire roller coaster. But due to a critical communication breakdown between ride operators and maintenance staff, the ride had been shut down. The worker entered a restricted area during live operation and was fatally struck by an oncoming train. Behind every one of these tragedies lies the same conclusion. The blame did not rest with the victims, but with the parks whose negligence cost them their lives, just as it did in Patrick's case. For months after the Oceana incident, the entire site remained closed. Every contractor, supervisor, and government agency involved was required to submit documentation, and yet despite multiple failures, not one was ever held legally responsible. Furthermore, the city ultimately decided to resume the Oceana project. So, by 2025, construction was once again underway. This time under rigorous new oversight. The city appointed an independent safety firm to supervise the site, and every team underwent comprehensive training in emergency procedures. Revised schedules set clear milestones, and, most critically, the fire protection systems were installed and activated much earlier in the process, rather than being postponed until the final stages of the build. The park is now scheduled to open in 2026, but no matter how
I have a question. Were some of the police officers, investigators, forensic, were everyone, was some people who were involved in investigating Oceana, were they friends with some of the higher ups of Oceana? And the resulting conflict of interest contributed to lack of action against Oceana, other than the rigorous oversight onto Oceana. No one really investigating just in check if they if anyone who is investigating that has social media are somehow friends with higher ups of Oceana.
Polished, the finished architecture may appear, many residents will never look at Oceana the same way again. And Patrick 𝙂𝙚, who had dedicated himself to the project, never lived to see the water park completed. Now tell me, are any of you watching this video?
Fucking piss me off.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Somebody sent me an email that I'm imagining and guessing is from a school. This made me fucking sick to my stomach. And I don't have children, and I'm glad that I don't, because if I did have children, I'd probably be showing up at all the school board hearings, asking about this, and probably getting myself arrested. So this is from, I don't know if this is high school, junior high school, what it is, but look at this. Integrity means doing right, even when no one's watching. But yeah, we are watching. Okay, here we go. At Estrella Foothills High School. So this is a high school, not a junior high school. Doesn't make it okay. Integrity means doing right even when no one's watching, but yeah, we are watching. Cameras keep us safe. Wolf Pride keeps us honest. We don't do good things just because we're on camera. We do them because we're good people. Do good because it's right, not because you're on camera. Be the reason that others feel safe. At least in this one, it doesn't say, yeah, but by the way, you're on camera and we're watching. This is so sadistic to me. You're conditioning young people to be okay with somebody watching them all the time. And see, there's a difference between, there's a number of things that
That's not okay.
Tell me what you think. Number one is the idea of associating a camera with safety. I had a business in New York City for almost 15 years. What a camera does not keep my employees safe. What the camera does is after somebody walks in and shoots Kevin, Dan, Patrick, or Han, if that occurred, the camera would allow me to get a 2-megapixel version of a nice little picture of who did it. The camera does not keep you safe, right? It just allows me to see who did the thing that they shouldn't have done. Because most criminals are really fucking stupid. And you know, if they weren't stupid, they'd find something else to do with their fucking life other than just rob people to make money. But more importantly, this is grooming to me. You're grooming people to be okay with the idea that they're being watched everywhere they go from a young age. And that's far more insidious to me than me simply having a camera in my store that points at the front desk and the cash register and the laptop shelf. Like, there's a difference between knowing you're on camera and then having this type of propaganda. Cameras keep us safe. Pride keeps us honest. We don't just do good things because we're on camera. We do them because we're good people. Integrity means doing the right thing even when no one's watching, but yeah, we are watching. There's something about telling kids, but yeah, we are watching, that is weird. You're conditioning people to be okay with being surveilled. We already live in a world where there is no such thing as privacy. We already live in a world where they're in the public or private sphere, for the most part. If you're in high school right now, you probably don't even remember what it was like to spend money on software. Like, you just use stuff that just sucks up all your data. Think about it. If you're 13 years old right now, that means that you were born in 2012, 8 years after Gmail was popularized for essentially reading through every single email that you ever sent, ever received, in exchange for 1 gigabyte of storage and 25 megabyte attachments. Great deal that we had. You don't know what it was like to use like Usenet and forums that operated on PHPBB that did not just suck up every single bit of your personal data and used it to sell you targeted ads. You don't remember what it was like to be able to drive down a road with your parents that didn't have an AI surveillance camera above it. This is being used to try and convince the young generations, being used to convince children that this is normal. It is your duty, if you go to this high school, to remove this. I'm telling you as an adult that being watched all the time every way that you go is not normal. And
that's not normal at all.
It takes a specific, sick, sadistic fucking piece of shit to look at children that are half their age and try and normalize the concept that we are watching you all the time. That's not okay. There's a difference between having a camera in the front of a school and then having this type of propaganda poster in the school. I'm not a parent, but I'm just very curious for the people in my audience who are parents. How would you feel about in your child's school them?
I feel like in this circumstance, pretty much everyone would happily catch a charge to the point that school will have to remove these and apologize.
Having all these propaganda posters and normalizing the concept that you're being watched everywhere that you go. I didn't have cameras in my classroom when I was a kid. We had a camera for the front door, probably. We had cameras for like the exits, the entrance.
In fact, not just apologize, actually pay criminal charges for basically brainwashing.
Type of shit. There wasn't a camera in every fucking classroom. But even if you are going to have a camera in the classroom, having the camera in the classroom with the little fucking blue LED on it, which none of the cameras that I have at my store have, on top of this, it seems like a bit much. Yeah, I don't care if somebody says that's bad behavior. I don't care if somebody says, Lois, you're a bad influence. I don't fucking care. If you get detention for taking that sign down, good. I have 2 businesses, 3 nonprofits. I would be more likely to hire you if you said on your resume, the reason that I got an F, the reason that I was suspended is that I tore down propaganda promoting surveillance in my school. And you showed me that picture. Mrs. Friedland made my parents cry in 4th grade. I'll never forget this worst teacher on earth by telling my parents, your son is never going to be able to get a real job and he's never going to be able to integrate into normal society. That woman was correct. I have not gotten a real job and I haven't integrated in normal society and I'm happy for it. If that's what normal society is, fuck that. Take that shit down.
Exactly. What's being pushed as normal society? Fuck that shit. I will never implement myself into quote unquote normal society if that's fucking normal. If that's fucking normal. Or that's fucking considered normal. Fuck that shit.
Don't think that that's normal. And if the adults in your life are telling you that that is normal, then there's something wrong with them. It's just my opinion. I don't usually talk about issues when it comes to school board meetings or like what they're teaching kids and any of that. I don't delve into that on this channel, but seeing this struck a nerve with me. I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I'd be raising hell over that. I don't give a shit if there's some fucking news article somewhere that says like, you 36-year-old YouTuber corrupts youth and gets them all suspended or whatever. I don't care. We are on the event horizon right now. We have normalized the Patriot Act. We have normalized the fact that almost every private company sucks up your personal data. We've normalized the idea that your washing machine sells your personal data. We're starting to normalize the concept of having a camera placed every fucking telephone pole all around your city so that they can keep a record of where everybody goes all the time. We are at the event horizon. The last part of this would be normalizing the concept of constant surveillance to the youth so that people who were not old enough to even remember what it was like to grow up with freedom or privacy.
Here's the thing that reminds me of. This reminds me of China. This reminds me of the CCP. They already surveil their citizens and grade their citizens based on their quote-unquote ethics or quote-unquote loyalty. We're already at the point where we're reaching the point where surveilling every citizen, including with AI recognition technology. Please don't tell me we're gonna get even further to the point where we're grading the citizens' quote-unquote ethics or quote-unquote loyalty. Holy fucking shit. If this is what normal, nah. That is... In no democracy would you ever see surveillance of that scale. Sure, Japan is nearing surveillance of that scale, but it's for good reason. There's still, at least sections of it are refusing to have it, like rural areas. At the same time, what the fuck? Just what the fuck? Here's the thing between Japan and China. Japan does not even have that much surveillance, does not have that kind of surveillance on that scale compared to China or United States. So that should put in perspective how fucked up. Here's the thing. The United States is approaching to rival China in the level of surveillance. Not only the level, but also the depth of surveillance that they're using to spy on their own citizens. What the fuck? What in the actual fuck is wrong with people who think that this is okay? Not okay whatsoever. If I want privacy, the privacy in my own room, and not be spied on just watching YouTube videos right now. I'm still gonna get surveyed. I'm still gonna get tracked. That was fucked up and a half.
Think that this is actually a good thing. This is not a good thing. I'm not here to try to get people to buy this brand of sneaker, to buy this phone instead of that phone or anything like that. That's not the type of influencer I want to be. But if I could have had one effect on the world, if I could have the effect of the next generation realizing that when their teachers or their principal tells them that this type of shit is normal and not creepy, that they reject it and say the fuck it is and rip that stuff off the wall, I can die happy. This is not normal. Do not let the people in your school tell you that that is normal. If I had internalized what Mrs. Friedland had told me and my parents, that your son is never going to be able to integrate into the normal world and he will never get a normal job, I would have lived a very different life. I would have had a much different effect on the world. Probably nothing. I'd probably still be putting price tags on basketballs right now, making $6 or $7 an hour, not doing anything, not helping other people, not trying to clean up my corner of the world. She's right. I didn't have what it took to integrate into the normal world. And maybe if you're the type of person that reads this and you think that this is not normal, maybe you don't integrate into the normal world either. Because if that's what the normal world is,
not.
I don't want to be a part of it. And I don't think you should either. I want you to be open to learning. I want you to study, and I want you to keep an open mind. And part of keeping an open mind is being open to the idea that constant surveillance is not for your benefit. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Tear that shit down.
Exactly.
Creepy. If that was happening at my kid's school, I'd tear that shit down myself. See you in the next video.
Seriously. I want to leave comment real quick. But Clippy no surveilling. Clippy no surveilling. There you go.
The tank incident. On May 14th, 1940, dawn crept over the burning village of Ston as a German column of about 50 soldiers moved along the narrow road. Their rifles were slung, and they marched in with confidence certain the French had fled.
Ooh.
See, the
Ow! Okay.
narrow village, but the German weren't too concerned of the French, as they were typically seen as easy to defeat, and the Germans had
I'm really getting into my cat girl cosplay.
reinforcements coming in. The 50 troops began to clear out the village, effectively covering the area in smoke and soot, making it extremely difficult to see. But just as the men were beginning to relax, that's when the smoke finally began to clear, revealing a 31-ton steel beast, barely even a couple meters away. The German soldiers froze because most men at the time had never actually seen or dealt with a tank face to face. And to add to their trouble, their anti-tank weaponry wasn't even set up yet. The men began panicking and tried to run away. But the only issue was that the village was a very, very narrow road. Backed between their own defenses and the slowly moving tank, many of the men slipped on gravel and each other, falling in the road's ditches. And as you could guess, the tank didn't stop. It crawled forward through the chaos, crushing weapons, bodies, and helmets.
Jesus Christ.
Tons of armor. Screams and grinding metal merged into one long, terrible noise. When it finally passed, the road behind was painted red and silent. The Germans who had witnessed the event fled in horror, and that single French tank went on to destroy 2 other enemy
Oh my
Germans and re-occupy
Jesus
their
Christ.
control. Breaking Bad. The man's team was completely ambushed by the Soviets. The men ducked and dodged gunfire as they skied through heavy snow as fast as they possibly could. You see, just moments earlier, this man was leading his squad to prepare an assault against an unsuspecting Soviet skiing group. But little did he know that 2 Soviet platoons were planning an even bigger ambush on him and his team. The group would ski non-stop for nearly 2 days in order to escape the Russians, but even at that, their enemies were still on their tail. Cold, starving, and completely exhausted, the soldier became sluggish and began falling behind in speed of his team. In that moment of despair, the man remembered that he had a pack of, the things that these guys make, all stuffed inside of his pocket. The man tried to take just one, but due to his big mittens and violently shaking hands, he decided that it'd be easier to consume the entire container. Instantly, a surge of energy overcame the man. He was no longer cold, hungry, or tired, and he began skiing like a literal lunatic. Then he blacked out. Horrifyingly enough, even though the man was completely unconscious, he still kept skiing. The man woke up in the middle of nowhere with no food, weapons, or supplies. And, he also realized that he accidentally left his team behind. He kept skiing, eventually stumbling across the camp of enemies he and his team were literally running away from. Instead of avoiding them, the man was manic. He didn't care, and he skied right through the middle of the enemy's camp with some of the Russian soldiers, even making room for him, and he kept skiing without food, shelter, or teammates.
Jesus Christ.
Eventually, in his deluded state, the man found his team's camp. He stepped inside searching for help and warmth, and that's when he'd hear a click. In an instant, the man's vision went white. He had stepped on a landmine and nearly blew his leg off. Deeply wounded, the man got back up and attempted to go inside one of the base cabins. But when he opened the door, he'd be welcomed to another untimely surprise. The man's body would be left to freeze in the snow for days. But to the utter shock of soldiers that stumbled across him, he was still alive. They brought him back to camp and found that he survived a Soviet ambush, stepping on 2 landmines and freezing alive in the snow.
Oh my goodness.
Insanely, however, they discovered that he
What the
moved
fuck?
250 miles in a week, and his heart rate was still jumping at an insane 200 beats per minute. Most battles in history are simply competitions of engineering, courage, and strategy. But luckily for you, the Reptilian Incident. In the final year of World War II, the British Army launched an assault on 𝙂𝙗𝙖 Island, a remote outpost off the coast of Burma. Their goal was simple. They needed to capture the island's airfield and drive out the Japanese garrison entrenched in its mangrove swamps. After a few days of fierce fighting, the Japanese lines finally broke, leaving nearly 1,000 soldiers stranded in the fetid marshlands.
Oof.
Surrounded and out of supplies, the remaining 1,000 Japanese soldiers were left with no other option but to flee through the swamps under cover of darkness so that they could retreat away. But what they didn't necessarily realize is that the mangroves of 𝙂𝙗𝙖 hid a huge reptilian nightmare. Beneath the waters of the marsh that the soldiers were trying to escape through waited an unbelievable amount of 20-foot saltwater crocodiles. As the soldiers moved deeper and deeper into the muddy water, the night's silence broke out with chaos. British troops positioned along the perimeter later recalled hearing screams, splashes, and bursts of echoing throughout the swamp, followed by the guttural roars of the predators. Men were dragged into the deep waters of the swamp by the crocodiles. Heads were crushed by jaws.
Jesus
Some
Christ.
shreds, and others were swallowed whole by the beasts.
Oof.
When morning came, the swamp was silent. The British patrols found supplies half buried in mud, torn uniforms tangled in roots, and the heavy drag marks of massive reptilian tails. Out of the 1,000 Japanese soldiers who entered the swamp, only 20 came out alive. The massacre was so profound that many historians today still debate and argue with each other on the topic's validity because of its sheer insanity. Many primary documents and witness reports from soldiers on the battlefield entail that most of the soldiers were in fact devoured by crocodiles. Nonetheless, in just a few days, the entire army that entered the swamp completely disappeared. Hundreds of men were reported missing, and history was left to only speculate on what really happened in that dark marsh. The cannibal incident. In 1941, a certain angry mustache man decided that it was finally time to invade the Soviet Union.
Oh, look. Oh, no. It's a cat, look. It's the Kittler.
He sought Leningrad, the birthplace of the USSR and its second largest city with a booming population of 3 million people. The mustache man wasn't interested in just conquering the city. In his words, he wanted to obliterate it and wipe it off the face of the earth. However, after a couple of failed attempts to invade the city and destroy it, German generals decided to go with the original plan they were given, the starvation siege. Their forces swept from the south, while Finnish troops advanced from the north and closed around the city. Leningrad was officially encircled and trapped. For 872 days, they would be blocked off from water, food, supplies, and energy. The city was effectively cut off from the world, and more than 2 million civilians would be subjected to relentless plane bombings, artillery shelling, freezing temperatures, and worst of all, starvation. As the days passed on, civilians were given ration cards so that they could eat half of a bread slice each day. And to add to that, the bread wasn't really even food. Instead of being made with flour and sugar, the bread the people were given to eat was mainly made of sawdust and animal feed. Nonetheless, it was still considered as one of the most valuable food items in the city. People withered away into walking skeletons on the streets, they burned books and furniture for warmth, and boiled leather belts for food. But it wasn't enough. Families would be left with no option but to eat wallpapers, dirt, rodents, and even their own pets for survival. However, when that failed, starvation eventually broke the last barrier of human morality. On a freezing cold afternoon, a plumber at a packing plant was one of the first to commit the atrocity. He couldn't stand the state his sons and nieces were in, so when he found himself alone with his wife, he attacked her. In silence and secrecy, he turned her into food, then later on showed up to his children and nieces and told them that he found a stray dog on the street and harvested it for its meat for them to feed on. The kids were delighted, and they began feasting on the food without knowing the horrific truth that they were feasting on their own mother. But surprisingly enough,
what the fuck?
Starving citizens did not do this at all. A woman so skinny and weak would be mistaken as a corpse, and still, neither she or her husband wouldn't succumb to the same savagery. They clung to their dignity, and even though each day was a waking nightmare, the city of Leningrad refused to surrender to the Germans. After nearly 900 excruciating days of anguish, the siege was finally shattered in January 1944. Over 1 million people had perished in the devastating atrocity. The woman and her husband both survived the event, but unfortunately for them, they would lose one of their sons to a disease during the siege. However, 7 years later, the married couple would go on to have another kid, and that kid's name would turn out to be Vladimir Putin.
Oh no.
It's a horrible thing, and being a soldier is an excruciating task.
Oh no.
Because it shows us how we as a species can do better in the present. Always show respect to those who are courageous enough to stand up and defend their loved ones. And as usual, have a happy day.
Exactly, have a happy day. Oh, holy shit. Holy fucking shit. That is horrific. Horrific as fuck.
Hello again, friends, and happy Halloween. This Halloween, I have decided to dress up as the scariest possible thing to my audience. A woman. Gay. Everything is gay, except of course gay sex, which we all know is only gay if the balls touch. So, what is a man to do? Where is a man to go? Reddit.
Oh no.
r/kitchen cells. To be exact. Kitchen Cells is a Reddit page where, quote, incels go to vent their frustrations with the world, as well as show off the food they are consuming at the moment. Now, for those of you who don't know what an incel is,
I know what
incel
incels
is a involuntary celibate. Somebody who, for whatever reason, cannot get laid or get a girlfriend. And for the people watching this, a girlfriend is a girl that is your friend, who you love. Like that little anime girl you watch in the corner of your screen, except she loves—
Oh no. That just reminded me of the meme, again, bro hug meme. And just being friends, or friends doing friend things. Oh my god. Holy shit, that just oh my god. Okay, that's fucking funny. Fucking funny. No, I don't want that.
loves you back. So let's dive into this. Let's see what Reddit is cooking.
Cooking these nuts?
Failed my f***ing driver's test today. I'm 26 years old, I can't hold a job, I can't get laid, I can't even drive. I don't deserve flavors.
That is a sentence and a half. Hold on, how are you 26 and you failed your driver's test? Didn't you have anyone to train you on how to drive in the first place? And did you even consider taking a driver's course? Which, here's the thing, with me, my parents were the one who taught me how to drive, mostly. However, I think it was a period of time where I had my permit, and it was, I think I got my driver's permit when I was 18, and my driver's license when I was 19. So like for 1 year, I think it was about a few months when they were super busy with stuff, they had me go to a driver's ed course, and the driving instructor, very nice person. He was very kind to me, very understanding, and I think most of what we did was go in circles around an empty parking lot, in an empty abandoned parking lot. Here's the thing with them. Usually, legally, you're not supposed to drive on a highway until you properly learn how to park and shit, and until you properly learn how to drive on the local roads. Here's the thing with what my parents did. I think it was the second or third day when I had my permit that they basically threw me into the deep end and made me drive in the highway. So I was being taught how to drive in the highway and drive in the local roads at the same time. I think it was in the span of... Fuck. It was... So, if I can remember correctly, about the time that, or around the time when I got my permit, I think it was... I think it was when I was... No, because I never... when I had permit, I never actually drove in the winter. When did I actually get my permit? Oh. Oh no. Okay, that... Because I remember I got my driver's license around my birthday. When I was 19. I think it was like a month. I think it was in July that I got it. I'm not sure. I know it was somewhere after my birthday. Between like 2 months after. It was during the summer I got my driver's license. Oh shit! I probably... No, did I? No, I think I did drive in the winter. So... Yeah, I remember driving in the winter. Well, then permit, basically... Wait a minute. But... Hold on. I'm trying to think. Because I remember my parents having me drive... We're in the passenger seat. I think it's either my mom or stepdad, but either two were in the passenger seat. They had me drive from home to work, and then we would switch seats, and they would have to take the car back home, and I just do my job, and then they would pick me up. We would switch seats again, and then I would drive home. I remember doing that in the winter, so it was during... 18, I would have been still, because I remember... So might have been in... Because I got a car in 2019. Soon after I got my driver's license. February. What the fuck? So from the time I got my driver's permit to the time I got my driver's license, I only had my permit for 6 months, and I was driving... My parents made me drive every single fucking day. They made me practice parking, both normal parking and parallel parking, every single fucking day for those 6 months. I think it was one. It was 1 month that I had to go driver's ed because they really didn't have the time. Holy fucking shit! What? What the fuck? Please. I think they still have I think when I got a driver's license, driver's permit, they still have records of when I got each of them. So I probably want to call them up and see if it's true or not. But oh my fucking god. Please don't tell me I had my driver's permit for 6 months before, and then somehow got my driver's license first try. God damn. As much as I hate my parents for pretty much, well, traumatizing me my entire fucking life, I gotta actually admit, they were actually good teachers for driving. Here's the thing. I think there's only one, two, three. I only got like 2 tickets ever. One, it was a speeding ticket because I was a dumbass speeding in a was actually like a very wide road. Like it is a back road, but it's very wide. I see that as an architecture issue. I've seen people speeding down all the time. It was normalized. But then they had cops patrolling there and people started slowing down. So yeah. I think the second ticket I ever got was actually recently. It was a parking ticket. Because I decided to park in front of my apartment at the wrong time. Yep. So yeah, I think it was. Oh, I was pulled over more than once. I think it was 3 times I was actually genuinely tired, and the cop saw me very tired, and I actually had to take some rest. I think it was only one time. I think it was only one time. It's within the first year that I escaped my parents' house that I got pulled over for speeding. And I pretty much told the cop the situation. Pretty much I trying to get all my documents in order, and was still scared. And parents were trying to actively hunt me down. Cop understood the situation and let me go with a warning. So yeah. Yeah, not the best driver, but my car insurance keeps track of my record as well. So they even admitted to me that despite that speeding ticket, that one speed, in 7 years of driving, I only had one speed ticket and one parking ticket. My car insurance told me despite me being a young driver, I'm one of the best drivers that they ever had. And all the clients they ever had. That's scary. That's fucking scary. But also the fact that I only had my driver's permit for between me getting my driver's permit and me getting my driver's license, I only had my permit for 6 months and passed the driver's test first try. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Chat, am I her? Am I literally a baby driver? Okay, I'm not actually a baby driver. Holy shit. I know that the way you get driver's license in the United States is basically you have to need at least 1 hour of driving experience. I think certain states there's different requirements, but I think having me basically be taught how to drive every single day for about 6 months potentially. I think I was already like hundreds of hours well over the required driving experience requirement. Holy fucking shit. Chat, I don't, I'm adjusting the camera. Here. There we go. Still chat. I can't believe it. I can't actually believe it. That, making the realization that from the time that I got my driver's permit to the time I got my driver's license was around 6 months before passing my driving exam first try. You know, I'm impressed. It took my older sibling twice to pass. It took 2 tries for my older sibling to pass the driver's permit and 2 times to pass the driving exam. How the fuck did I get it? Both of them first try. I know the written test is basically just a common sense test with a bunch of trick questions, which thankfully they allow me to take my time with the exam, with the permit, with the written exam. And thankfully I did take my time. And onto the driver's exam. I happened to take my driving exam during the cough era, and I was fully ready to do the parking portion of it and the road portion of it. When I completed the parking portion of it successfully, 10 out of 10 successfully, basically on the points. I was saying I asked the driver examiner. I say, okay, I'm ready to do the road portion test. Like, oh, you're not actually doing the road portion test because of cough era regulation rules. You're not actually going to be doing the road portion test. So since you passed the parking portion of it with flying colors, you get your driver's license. And the only thing that popped in my head, I didn't actually ask this, but the only thing that popped in my head was is this even legal? Is this supposed to count? I'll take my win, but wow.
I dropped my salad. I fail at everything I do. I'll never amount to anything. I'm a perverted incel freak with weirdly long toes. Classmates said I have school shooter vibes. Bowl of sludge. What am I looking at? Is this your classmate? Holy shit, maybe they were right. Resident Evil ass meal. I asked my high school biology teacher out on a date the day I turned 18 via her Steam account. She blocked me. This guy somehow managed to find the one female teacher that did not want to groom their male student. Incredible. Chicken looks good though. 7 out of 10. Asked a girl out and she started laughing. Aw, that's just a learning experience, dude. Got super hard. Rice. Oh. 5'10", rice looks good. The only girlfriend I had was on an online game when I was 11. I'm gonna hold your hand when I tell you this. That was a man. That was a 45-year-old
Oh no.
man. Made this cake to celebrate 6 months on heroin. No woman could love a creature like me. but this feels great anyways. I only haven't ended my life because I don't want to make any women happy. My obsession with an anime girl prevents me from talking to 3D women. Every night before going to sleep, I watch a video of her kissing the camera, and it is almost always the highlight of my day. May I know which one it is? Sue from Monster Musume. You know what? After the last video I did, I can't even judge this. Like, at least it's human looking. The bar is in hell. I have a huge crush on her.
The bar is in hell.
I was talking at her about fishing, and I jokingly said I could buy her one of those toy Barbie fishing rods and teach her how to catch a fish. She said, "I don't think I'd be interested in that," in the most disgusted tone of voice I've ever heard a human muster. I like how he said talking at her. Not with her, not talking with her, talking at her. Women love when you talk at them. Just corner them and start yapping about World War I or like Warhammer lore. They f***ing love that shit. Just get right up in their face and explain to them the entire—
I had a roommate try to explain to me the entirety of Warhammer 40k lore. And the entire time I was like, we had to you got me to watch the 40-hour-long Warhammer 40k lore. And at the end of it is like, okay, thank you for the information, but I don't understand any of this, and I just not interested. I think he was salty since then.
plot of Lord of the Rings. That's how you get him. My mom's new boyfriend is younger than me. Oh no, his mom is being hag-maxed. She's 52, I'm 23, he's 21. He could literally be my brother. What the f do they even talk about? Oh, don't worry about it, bro. They're not doing much talking. I wish a tomboy could just casually kidnap me and drag me into a room. Pasta cereal. I feel like tomboys are like an endangered species. What the f is that? You need to be kidnapped by the feds.
I actually threw up in my mouth. No wonder why you don't get any bitches. This is what you fucking cook. And I'm trans. Okay, I'm good chat. I'm good chat. I just had a bag of chips. Holy fuck, I nearly threw that up. What the fuck? What an actual fuck is that? Nah, get that out of my face. I'm throwing that at your face.
You need to be exiled away from society for what you did to that pasta. My ancestors are weeping. The last time I met anyone was when I went to the psych ward a few years ago, where I got a crush on the first girl who ever showed me any interest. She ghosted me. Just my stupid Chungus life. Okay, honestly, good. Do not get with the f***ing girl you met at the psych ward, okay? None of this Harley Quinn Joker bullshit. You can't fix her. She can't fix you. No, no, no. Next. Today I found out the woman I have been pursuing is a lesbian. Burger meat hot dogs for me and my father, who hates me. Okay, 1, that is doo-doo. That is poop from a butt. And 2, it is not over. It's not over. There's still—
That looks like shit, and you still managed to burn shit.
Still one way you can date her. Put this on. I don't deserve love.
Put this on.
Segregated Tic Tacs. I have an eating disorder. Gay. So I almost never actually cook. I'm eating plain strawberry yogurt out of a dog bowl this morning. F*** my lonely puppy life. Yesterday my scrambled eggs were oversalted. This morning they were undersalted. I have to kill myself.
How do you manage to oversalt motherfucking eggs and you manage to undersalt your motherfucking eggs? Do you not know about the tap method you use for salt shakers? It actually depends on which salt shakers you have. Do you have the churning ones? If you have the churning ones, then I understand how you fuck that up. At the same time, if it's the one that you like has a flat top and you just actually shake it, how the fuck do you mess that up? You make my ancestors ashamed of you. Actually, you make my ancestors ashamed of me for looking at this bullshit.
Wait, if the eggs are undersalted, can't you just put more salt on them? Wait, don't kill yourself. Just add more salt. Off to a VTuber burping compilation, and now I'm having the only meal I know how to make. Where the f did it all go wrong? That is disgusting, bro. Which VTuber? Which one? Which one so I know to avoid that channel. A female coworker complimented me on my shirt and I began to stutter trying to say thanks. This guy will remember that for the rest of his f***ing life. Men
Exactly.
will be 85 years old on their deathbed, surrounded by their family, remembering the time some random woman complimented his Metallica shirt 45 years ago. Ladies, you want to make a random man's life? Compliment his shirt. Just make sure it's not one of those f***ing, like, 𝙂𝙚 anime shirts, though. That was a weird era. I licked this canned tuna to imagine what it feels like to eat pussy. It doesn't taste like that or have that texture, though. Put 5 pennies in your mouth, cut a hot dog down the middle, and then lick that.
What? Excuse me? Did I hear that correctly? Excuse me? What the fuck? Why am I...
Probably closer. And here I am thinking the guy who licks a can of tuna pretending it was a pussy was rock bottom. What the f am I reading? Why can't you just buy a fleshlight or something like a normal person? The smell and the flavor are important factors here. Stop. If it smells and tastes like tuna, something is wrong. She
Exactly.
has an infection. Suppose a girl has blocked you on every platform, but you know her address. For the past year, you've been sending her one GIF each month, each one bigger than the last. Sometimes you include a note. She's never responded, but you know she's receiving them. How would you proceed? You don't. You don't proceed. None of these people at this party know I beat it.
No, if I start getting random gifts at my apartment, I would actually go to the cops and say, "Hey, there's a random person sending me gifts. I never give out my address like that. Can you backtrace where the fuck this is? So I can send a restraining order, and so I can charge him for harassment. Thank you."
To giantess vor animations. Maybe. But now the whole internet does. I love the people in the comments like, my man. It is just actually insane. Like, these people walk amongst us. Like, the guy in front of you in line at the bank might have a being eaten alive fetish. Who knows? An acquaintance I have is talking with his girlfriend and 4 of her friends 40 feet away from me. He said, statistically, one of the 10 guys in this room is a racist. They all looked at me. Funfetti pizza. I was talking to a girl who thought I was Latino. When I told her I'm Indian, she almost gagged. Woke up this Sunday morning. I'm still 5'9". Okay, 5'9" is not f***ing short. What the hell have the dating apps done to men? Women on dating apps have just like destroyed the male psyche. Like, dudes now believe if you're not 6'3", it's
I'm 5'7", and that's considered average, relatively average for an Asian like me. So, yeah, do what they will with that.
over. Didn't they just implement like a height filter on like Bumble or one of those apps or something? That is insane. Could you imagine they did a weight filter? Could you imagine no women under 170 pounds? Could you fucking imagine? They would never. Paid for nudes for the first time. They weren't great nudes, but I kept paying because she talked to me. Spinning glizzy. She talked to you, huh? Are you sure about that? Are you sure you were talking to Cutie Pie Kitten 69 and not fucking Kamal from Pakistan? Because apparently that's the thing. Apparently OnlyFans girls hire agencies in like India and Pakistan to like talk to their simps for them. I masturbate to girls until I am tired of them, so I won't have to approach them and then get rejected.
Thanks for the idea. I will not actually do that to you, chat. I actually try to respond as much as I can, but if it's too much, then I'm sorry for not being able to respond. Schedule is busy. I don't know what to tell you.
Is this why the birth rate is so low? See, I was under the impression.
Okay, but yeah, I haven't had enough internet for today. That being said, I just get in and off here. I've realized the anime outfit is kinda a little off, but it is what it is. And with that being said, I just want to say that I just want to thank everyone for joining today's stream. My name is 𝙂𝙚𝙣𝙚. I'm a variety streamer. Sorry. I stream lots of video game chats and just me, as well as I draw art, I do coding, and hopefully I'll be streaming 3D modeling to everyone here sooner or later. And that being said, I gotta get it going on, Blitzies. Bye bye, matinee.